Create Art Podcast. Commentary, Perseverance. Hello, friends. This is Timothy Kimo Bryan, your head instigator for Create Art Podcast, where I bring my, 30 years of experience in the arts and education world to help you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. So, last year in 2022, during Christmas, my wife gave me this deck of cards. It's called Kickstart Creativity, and it's by Bonnie Smith Whitehouse, and it's 50 prompted cards to spark imagination. And my wife gave that to me, and I was thinking to myself, like, why is she giving me this? I mean, this podcast is called Create Art Podcast, so, I should be, inspired to do a ton of things, right? So she gave me these cards, and I'm really happy that she did, because it's going to influence what we're doing this entire year here in 2023. So there's 50 cards, and they're divided up into 3 different colors. Red cards are action cards, green cards are perspective cards, and blue cards are intention cards. Now, you can use the cards together or separately, however you see fits. What I'm doing is I'm taking 1 card a week and contemplating what that means, and then bringing that back to you on what I've been thinking about for the entire week. And maybe you can use some of these, maybe not. But this week's card is Perseverance. So how they're defining, or the first thought is on Perseverance: when inevitable obstacles appear and missteps occur, persevere. It's kind of poetic. Almost rhymes a little bit. So the intention card says, when a colleague of Senator Elizabeth Warren assumed he was scolding her nevertheless, she persisted. Instead, he gave rise to a rallying cry for a generation. These 3 words prove that perseverance is stubbornness fused with optimism, reminding us all to carry on. Setbacks and criticisms are part of the deal. Read that rejection letter. Listen to the rationale for your work being dismissed or excluded. Accept the critique and learn what you can from it. Onward. So my takeaway from that initial paragraph at the top is stubbornness. And one thing is true about me is I am a stubborn person. I keep on going. Even if the answer is no, I will find a way around it. And it's the same thing with restrictions or things that conditions that I impose upon my work, structure, form, whatever. I find that, I need to be more creative in those situations. When the answer is no, okay, well, it's no for right now, but is it no forever? Usually not. So, perseverance is very important because, a lot of artists don't get discovered until well after they're dead. That's the rule of thumb is you don't get famous until after you're dead when you're an artist. With me being in the theater world for a long time, I had a lot of actors around me that, they wanted to be remembered forever. And that was their whole goal in life is, I want to be remembered forever. I want people to be writing about me in the history books. And, I want theaters to be named after me and plays to be written about me and this and that and the other thing. And, that's not perseverance. That's reaping the benefits of perseverance before you've actually put in the work to persevere. And we're going to hear no a lot in our lives, in our artistic careers. And we're going to hear a lot of, I don't understand what you're doing. It's so esoteric. in my my early writing career, when I was doing poetry at the beginning, a lot of my stuff was really esoteric. People couldn't understand it. And then I changed my style, not because they told me to, but because I wanted to be understood more. And I still, leave a little mystery in there. But I knew that the way I was doing it was not, had no, I don't want to call it panache, but it had not really solid reasoning behind it. And people didn't understand the reasoning behind it. So I worked harder to help my audience, to help those that were critiquing my stuff, to understand what I was doing. Now, people, understand a lot of where I come from, and they understand that I like the weird, I like the avant-garde. I don't like to give easy answers in my art to what I'm thinking. I would prefer you get to know me a lot better and then go, oh, okay. Because, poetry and writing can only do so much. It can only let you in so far. And to let you in the rest of the way, it's probably better that I know you a little bit. And it's probably better that you know me a little bit and understand me a little bit. And the only way to do that is to be more open in my art. So that's something that I'm doing, so that way my ideas can persevere through all time. But I really like that, the connection with Senator Elizabeth Warren. She started a whole new agency in the federal government. Whether you like her or hate her, whether you think she's right or wrong, she started a whole new agency, the Consumer Fraud Protection Bureau. And, that's pretty cool that we have an agency that does that is, trying to protect us from fraud, and sometimes, from ourselves, from our own fellow citizens. So, she persisted. Nevertheless, she persisted. That is a rallying cry for a generation. So I think she is the epitome of what perseverance is. A lot of women that make it to the top of their field, that is, a wonderful way to look at perseverance. And it's not just women, African Americans, people of the LGBTQ plus community, different communities that have been marginalized, that have been pushed back by my community, by white males. It's good to see that, no matter what, people kept on going because they had a belief in an ideal. And when you have somebody that is like that, they're impossible to stop. So let's go on to the challenges, as I like to do. And the first challenge is reflect on how or why you may have been groomed to regard stubbornness as a negative trait rather than a valuable asset. My parents, they were like, "You are so stubborn." And just saying it in that tone, "You are so stubborn." I find myself saying that to my kids, and not as a compliment. It's you're not listening to what I'm saying. And there's bullheaded stubbornness, and then there is, stubbornness that comes with integrity, and that you won't give up on your principles, that you won't give up on your ideas. And, that bullheaded stubbornness, not so much. You're not doing it just because somebody wants you to do it. That's not good. But that's why it's been, how I was groomed. And I don't know that groomed is a great word for it, but that's how it was introduced to me, that stubbornness was not a good quality to have, but I still had it. I still would fight for an idea that I thought was right. If I saw an injustice or something that wasn't fair happening in the world, then I fought against it. I remember, my parents were big churchgoers, and I didn't want to go to church when I was a teenager, when I was living with them. So I said, I finally said, okay, fine, I'm going to church, but I'm going to sit in the back pew, and I'm going to read a book. And they're like, fine. And so I was reading Also Spake Zarathustra from Friedrich Nietzsche. And people would ask me, well, what are you reading there? And I said, oh, I'm reading about the death of God. And they would leave me alone. So, my stubbornness of, I really don't want to go to church on Sundays, turned into a thing where, okay, fine. You're going to have me come to your church? You're going to force me to come in order to live with you? Perfect. I'll do that. But I'm going to, I don't have to participate. I'm not required to. You did not specify that. So I found the ways around. I use my creativity to find the ways around their edicts and all that good stuff. And eventually I was asked not to come back to the church because, I'm sitting there and talking about Buddhism and talking about Taoism and talking about atheism while the pastor's up there, doing his thing. That was my perseverance. The next thing is how might you foster a growth mindset on your team or in your personal life? So what I've done for a growth mindset is just recently here in 2023, there is a podcast conference in New Jersey called Indie PodCon. So I went ahead and signed up to be a speaker there because I know my public speaking skills are not the best. And there are other people there that have way more experience and success in podcasting than I do. But I think I have a unique perspective and with podcasting and with my journey with it. So that's why I'm going to go there and speak to share that, in the face of people that, have longer resumes, have more prestigious stuff. This is something that I've done in college. This is something I've done my entire life. And for some reason or another, through hard work, through tenacity, through perseverance. And for me, tenacity is a close cousin to perseverance. I've been able to get where I'm at in life. And it's a pretty good spot, compared to where I started out. And my experiences and whatnot, which are fodder for inspiration and for poems and paintings and music. So that's how I'm fostering a growth mindset. I'm also trying things that I didn't know how to do in the past. And one of the things that you'll see in future episodes, starting with this episode, is you're going to see a link in the show notes to my new newsletter, which you can subscribe to. It's on Substack, and I recommend it. And it's I don't think it's going to come out every week, but it is going to come out on a regular basis. So maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 weeks. But I want to do things that challenge me. So things that I haven't really done, either haven't done well in the past, or I haven't done at all. And doing newsletters is one of them. And it gives me a way to stay in closer contact with all of you. So make sure that you subscribe to that. You'll see it in the show notes. Or you can go onto Substack and look up Create Art Podcast. That's always an option. Now, in the last challenge, it says to put it as Margaret Atwood famously did in The Handmaid's Tale. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Be composed, unruffled, and undeterred. And don't let the bastards win. It just now that doesn't mean the critics necessarily, but the things, and it could even be yourself, that are holding you back, the people that are holding you back, the gatekeepers. Don't accept no. Don't accept silence. Keep on doing what you feel is right and what you know is right. Feel it and know it and then do it. Don't let these gatekeepers stand in your way. Because if you do, then the answer is always going to be no. If the answer is no, think of a creative way around it. I know when I was working with the Army, they said, hey, if there's a wall there, go around it, over it, underneath it, or through it. Find a way to pass that wall. And we had that in the Air Force too, when I was in the Air Force. So whatever is blocking you, find a creative way around it, persevere around it, because we need your art. We need your ideas in this world, now more than ever. So whatever it takes to get around whatever block that you're having, make sure that you do that. If it's something that you believe in, make sure that you do it. Well, that was today's card. I appreciate you taking a listen to this podcast, and I really appreciate the time that you put into it. And I hope you appreciate the time that I put into it. I do want to ask you a slight favor. If you got any benefit out of this, I'd ask you to go ahead and share it with a friend. Whatever app you're using, if you're on my website, go ahead and give them the website. If you're, using an app, share it through your app. There's lots of different ways, lots of different apps out there. So I'm not going to go through them all. But yeah, go ahead and share it with a friend. I don't mind. Don't mind at all. The other thing I'd like to ask of you is that if you have something going on in your neck of the woods, or if you have, a piece of art that you're working on that I can help you out with, or if you want to get your work out there to other people, I'd be happy to interview you on this show. You can email me, timothy@createartpodcast.com. And I'd be happy to get back with you and talk about it and see what we can do about that. The last thing I'm going to ask of you, and I know I'm asking a ton, and I apologize for that, but could you go ahead and email me and let me know what would make this a 5-star podcast in your eyes? I'd like to know about that. You can, a lot of the apps out there, you can comment right there on the app and leave your review or all that. And by all means, go ahead and do that. Even if it's not a 5-star, if it's a 4-star, if it's a 1-star, go ahead and do that. But what I would ask you to do, please, is to go ahead and email me. Same email address, timothy@createartpodcast.com. And let me know what's going to make this a 5-star podcast for you. Now I'm going to release you to the rest of your day. I hope this was enjoyable for you. I know it was enjoyable for me. So go out there. Tame that inner critic. Create more than you consume. And go out there and make some art for somebody you love, yourself. I'll talk to you next time.